G'day. What about the British Grand Prix? Huh? What a cracker. Controversial win for Lewis Hamilton. Plenty going on throughout the 4 days of the event. And I'm going to fill you in from the lobby of the Moxie Hotel in Milton Keynes in just a moment. Lap 1. Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen go hard at it for a half a lap and then bang, touching of tyres, Max in the wall at 51 Gs. Lewis goes on to win his home Grand Prix. What a day out. If you've seen the incident, you'll either think Max is at fault, Lewis is at fault, or it's a racing incident. For my money, I thought it was a racing incident. And I know the penalty was tough on Red Bull because Max obviously was wiped out of that race. Lewis, 10-second penalty. A lot of you are saying just not enough, but you've got stewards in place and it's their job to come up with the penalty. But at this point, let's go on to Lewis's celebration. It was mighty. It was in front of his home crowd. 142,000 were there and they were vocal the whole race. And there's a couple of things I'll say about this. It was like a football match. Every time Lewis came past, there were big cheers. Not so many for George and Lando, but certainly noticeable. And then the other driver to get great support was Daniel Ricciardo. He was always getting cheered as he came round. And at the very end of the race, on the last lap, every driver that came past got a round of applause, and I love that about the crowd, that they were passionate about the entire field. I was standing with about probably 20 photographers at that corner, and as soon as we were given the go-ahead, we could cross the track and go and photograph the cars coming into Parc Ferme, and Lewis getting out, standing on his car and waving that flag, which he'd driven around the track on his final lap. But then, most of the photographers jumped the fence and went somewhere else to take a shot of the podium. I stayed where I was, and I was richly rewarded because Lewis jumped the fence, came out to me and probably 7 other photographers, and then waved that flag at all the people in the grandstand at the final turn. And I can tell you that very late in the afternoon, probably about 7 o'clock, Lewis went out to do his celebration with the team, and then he went across the track to probably a couple of hundred supporters who were still hanging around, threw his cap into the stand. There was only one photographer down there getting all of that action to himself, so well done, Charles Coates. But I have so many more stories to tell you. When I say we, I'm talking all the photographers nearly missed getting out for the first lap because we go on shuttle buses out to our spots around the track. We had our media guy in at race control trying to get us out on track, but we were being held up. And then when they finally let us go, 10 seconds later, he calls up and says, stop. Too late, we're already out on track. But have a look at this. This is what we find when we get out to the main straight. All the teams are setting up, and our buses have to wend our way around the teams setting up and also that big We Racers 1 sticker, which is on the ground. But we got there, we got our grid shots. I was actually looking for Tom Cruise because I really wanted to photograph Tom, but unfortunately I missed him. However, earlier in the day, I got word that Harrison Ford was coming, and I waited at the swipe gates. And sure enough, he rolls up, and I saw him at the very last second. I was nearly going to leave because 7 people get out of this minibus and not one of them is him. Then I go around the back, oh, there he is. And I was just about to take the first photo, and he puts the mask on. I was so disappointed. And he said, sorry. And then he looked at me, and I was the only photographer there. He goes, okay. He takes the mask off and he gives me a whole series of shots. So fortunate because I love him as an actor. So for the start of the race, I'm situated at turn 1. And of course, we have that dice up the front, which I get a couple of reasonable shots. But at the back, I noticed that the 2 Haas drivers were involved in a bit of a duel, and one of them had locked up. And after they go past me, I'm then starting to look at pictures so I can put one up online. And then I hear this huge noise and this gasp. And I look up at the screen and I can see that there's been some major incident. That led to about a 30-minute delay, was it? In which case I just lay down, had a little snooze on the ground. I did get a lot of messages from people saying, did you get photos of the crash? Well, it was 1.2 kilometres from me. So no, in answer to your question, I got no photos of that crash. And I don't think there was even a professional photographer at that corner. Download offline Google Maps and Google Translate such that if you lose internet connection, you've still got access to them on your phone. Let's go to driver arrivals on race day. And I was out there very early, got Lando on his own, and a young woman by the name of Natalie, a local, who knew the system well because she managed to get into an area where there was supposed to be no spectators. She waited for him to get out of the car, and then she grabbed an autograph, and then I thought this was nice. She offered him hand sanitizer to clean his hands after he'd signed. Daniel Ricciardo rolled up on race day, which was a glorious day. Bright sunshine. He had a 720S McLaren. He had the roof down. He would have given the fans a real thrill as he drove through to the paddock car park. And if you want to find out what drivers drove to the track, and there were some beautiful cars, make sure you're watching later in the week when I put up my new What Drivers Drove to the Track video. Jumping back to Daniel again, was it on the Saturday? I'm pretty sure it was Saturday. Jackie Stewart was in the house and he and Daniel stopped and had a chat. Now, I photographed them in a similar situation in Melbourne a couple of years ago in the paddock, and I think the pair get on well. And I should say thanks to Canady.com for sponsoring these videos. Canady.com, the world's best online staff training platform. We had a number of wives and girlfriends in this race. For the first time, I saw Isabel Onay's, Carlos Sainz's girlfriend, and unfortunately, I wished now I'd waited another week and a half to do my wives and girlfriends video, which has gone crazy because I'd never seen her at the track and I never had a photograph of her, but I got her on 2 days of the event. And interestingly, this young lady, Amy Swift, arrived with Yuki Tsunoda on the Saturday and Sunday. Now, I don't know how she fits into the scheme of things, but anyone? Do you know Amy Swift? What is her relationship with Yuki or his trainer, perhaps? And on the subject of Carlos and Isabel, what I notice is that Carlos, when he gets out of the car with her, he races straight into the paddock and she brings up the rear, sometimes with his trainer Rupert and Carlos Honoro, his manager. The grid was fantastic, but I did notice Lando arrived very late. I think he only got about 5 or 6 seconds kneeling, and then he had this wry grin on his face. Have a look at this. I don't know why he was holding back laughter, but I think that's why a lot of people like Lando. He's just an honest character. Did you see Carlos's cooling vest on race day? This number here. To me, it looked like a suicide bomber's jacket. Lewis's dad was at the event, and his stepmother, Anthony and Linda, and I found them coming into the paddock on one particular day. Now, the last time I photographed Anthony, I think, was going back a couple of years ago when he and Seb stopped for a chat in the Silverstone paddock. And while we're back on the subject of Lewis, what did he wear to the track? Well, these are 3 of his outfits, and I can't wait to the end of the year when I've got maybe 50 or 60 different outfits that I can showcase to you. And is he picking out these outfits on his own? No, he has a stylist. Let's talk about Saturday now. What did you think of the sprint race? I thought it was interesting because normally we would get an hour FP3 and then roughly an hour of quali, but this time we get an hour FP3 and a half an hour race. So we lose a little bit of time on track with the cars and drivers. I liked the idea. I thought it was exciting. To me, it was a bit like a poker machine where, let's say you win a 500 coin payout. Then it says double or nothing. That's what it appeared like to me. Yes, you get your quali position on the Friday. Now, can you make up any more positions or can you go further back? So there are always going to be winners and losers in that particular format. What about that big Crypto.com truck, the blue truck with the little boxes for each of the drivers to stand in, first, second and third? Did you like that? I'll quickly talk about a couple of spots that I shot from during the weekend. One was at Luffield, where I found a spot that there's a little bit of a gap under the fence, and that's very rare that we get a gap under the Armco. And by digging out a little bit of the dirt on my side of the fence, I could get my camera body low enough so I could shoot the cars at ground level. And on the Saturday, I wasn't even going to go and shoot FP2, but I thought, I'll go out for the last 20 minutes. Took out an 85mm lens and I had to lay down here at this spot and shoot through the bottom gap in the Armco to get these shots, which a lot of you said looked similar to what you'd see on a video game. And I think that's because they're low angle, the car is very close, and it's in lovely light. And all those pictures, by the way, are available at prostarpics.com for digital download, or if you're a member of my channel, any membership level, you will get free wallpapers every month. And VIP members get a number of RAW files each race, which they can then edit. On a completely different matter, I want to talk about the canteen at the Silverstone track. It's a really quirky little affair because they have a great range of food and snacks and drinks. And what you do is you go up there and you say, I'd like one of these and one of these, and they don't charge you for it. What they do is they ring it up, but they charge the organiser or the track. I'm not sure who pays for it, but It's a great thing for us to be able to go and eat because we can't go anywhere to buy food at the track because we're not allowed anywhere near the public. One of the real positives being an F1 photographer is we get free stuff. Like, look at this, 5 different F1 perfumes. And I've had a test. This one's excellent, the black one. I don't know whether the other ones are just different coloured bottles. And then I've also got, where is it? We also got this one here. Ooh, very sexy, and smells good. Thank you, F1. And finally, my biggest post of the race weekend on Instagram, what was it? It was a simple picture of Lando Norris coming into the track. Now, of course, this is the first time you've probably seen him after he was robbed of his Richard Mille watch. And interestingly, he didn't wear a watch in on the Thursday, but later in the week, I saw him with this model, Richard Mille, on his wrist. And finally, these lovely shots of Sebastian Vettel, his manager Britta, and his trainer Antti collecting rubbish in the major grandstand on the pit straight 2 hours or so after he'd finished the British Grand Prix. Now, this wasn't a press call. This was kept very quiet, and I was lucky enough to be tipped off by a newspaper that they were out there doing this. Now, this says a lot to me about Seb and his team that he would go and do this. He mixed with people out there. You would have seen him perhaps on the grid with this T-shirt. He's obviously passionate about litter, and I think this speaks volumes about this man, and I love the way he went about this. This could have been a complete media show, and I think it would have lost all of its impact. But the fact that he kept it quiet and it sort of leaked out there says a lot about Sebastian Vettel. So thumbs up to Seb. And before I go, can you please do me one favour? Click the like button. And if you're not a subscriber, you're welcome to come and join us. You'll get regular videos all throughout the season. You'll find my digital pictures available at prostarpics.com. You'll find my F1 photo books at kimillman.com and get some merchandise too. It was nice to see a couple of people wearing my shirts at the track on the weekend. And for my best pictures live from the track and all during the week, head to Instagram and search at Kim Illman. Thanks for watching and stay passionate. Rather nasty shadow under my nose, isn't it? Oh, you f***er.